Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, this is the press reaching you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. And now it's time for analysis of all the headlines we've just read out to you. And I'll be joined by guest, the political analyst, Akpur, Emmanuel, Terfa. You're welcome to the studio.
It's good to have you join us, Mr. Terfa.
Yeah, good to have you here.
Our viewers, be reminded that our phone lines are open for you to call in and make your contributions known. Mr. Terfa, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. And you guys?
Great, thank you. I don't know if you saw the news this morning. Most of all the headlines had stories of the building collapse again in Lagos, Banana Island. And it's begging to question what is really going on. What is the urban planning ministry doing? Are they doing their job? Are they, because from the story I read that it's an unapproved building. If it is an unapproved building, so how come a project was ongoing and there was nobody to keep monitoring the buildings that have been unapproved to continue? What do you have to say in this line?
Yeah, like in Lagos now, we've been having series of collapsed buildings.
Exactly.
Over the time, and you guys can attest to that. Most of those things, they are not properly followed due process. It's all about government who knows who. Most of those things, they are supposed to pass under urban to ascertain and give approval of how many story would the land go into carrying out you know, they carry out the tests on that soil how many buildings actually will it contain and how many will go. You know, Lagos is mostly is in island.
True.
And we know it's water. When you buy, you have to sand fill. Then you really understand that there is going to be a series of measures and things to undergo. But when you have someone in the government, when you have someone who is just there that you can just pass at the backyard and you do things, and this is why we're having such things happening in Lagos.
Do you know, Lagos seems to be the most congested state presently. Don't you think like little is done to curtail the amounts in which people are proud in the state?
Yeah, Lagos is congested because, you know, in our political setting now, everything has been shifted to Lagos. What makes Lagos, when people talk about Lagos congesting? That's seaport. You understand?
Very well.
The seaport makes people go there because the federal government now, or let me say the cabals, the people who feel they want to just make that a monopoly of seaport in Lagos, to just be there. But if this is cut across the country, maybe look at the one in
we have ports in Warri, we have in
are they functioning?
Are
they functioning? The question is, are they functioning? The one in Onitsha in Anambra, is it functioning? There is a question, is it functioning? If it's functioning, you will see that crowd will reduce because more people are going there because of one thing or the other. Until when we have this spirit of making this thing go around, when you just monopolize things and you put it in one place, and that is how when people make noise and saying Lagos is congested. Yeah, there are opportunities. People go there and do menial jobs. When it goes to a proper wealth now, there are menial jobs. You don't need to go to start looking for white collar jobs. So everybody is looking at, okay, let me just go where I can wake up in the morning. If I have the strength, I can go there and get one or two things, and I go home. You are not actually employed.
All right. Besides Lagos being too congested, it's becoming one too many. And you know the saying, once beaten, twice shy. But it's looking as though we've been beaten once and would even still wait to be beaten several times before we take the best action. Because this is not the first time building is collapsing in Lagos.
Yeah.
The question is, why is it that they keep overlooking things and allowing it to keep happening? Because if you ask me, I feel like it's an allowed thing. If you allow an unapproved project to proceed, for them to keep building an unapproved building, then it simply means that you are allowing and you are endangering the lives of people. Shouldn't heads roll at this point?
It will still interest you to know that the one that happened in Ikwe, maybe you remember the owner of the
yes,
he died. He was there. He was caught in the process. Did you hear anything after that? Did you hear any other thing that Edward Rose, the company that was contracted, everything? Do you hear any? Do you have any news regarding that? That's the country we are, because when you belong to the class of people who are awarded such contract then get their money, get their refund, then they wouldn't want to proceed with that. So that when you go on with this, names will start mentioning, and people you are having respect, looking at them as leaders, they will be involved, and that is why the issue will just die. So don't be surprised. We are still going to hear that another building will soon collapse in Lagos. Okay. Because,
I want to come in now. Now we hear that those body in charge of the building said it wasn't an approved building. It wasn't approved in the first place. But we have cases where buildings are approved, but because perhaps the quality of tools or equipment used in making the construction, then we find greedy people, instead of using good qualities, they use the inferior qualities instead. At least now we can say we are blaming the body for, should I say, the people for not getting approval. But in the instance where the people get approval and yet they use low quality to build, who then should we blame? Because it seems like it's cut across both the people and the body.
You see, for instance, let me just give you an instance. You work here, and you know your job prescriptions, and if you don't do what you're supposed to do, you know what happens next in the organization. So we have countless of events or countless of this happening, and nothing has been done, and it's still happening. So what are we saying? We are saying that it is just a thing of, I know you, then doing the right thing, coming into this office now. As far as I know you, I don't need to come through the gates. It just needs to come, okay, I want to see, then at the end you awarded that thing just between me and you.
And greasing of palms comes in.
And it comes in because, one, the substandard material I was talking about, we have those things. Okay, one, if the contractor now maybe supposing is a government project or whatever, and he said, okay, I need this is how much it is, and he said, give me, okay, for instance, I want to build this studio we are right now, and the cost of the studio with the standard materials and all it takes is 1 million naira. Let's just give an instant 1 million, and instead of 1 million, I'm going to give you 500,000 as just to make sure that I get the contract. Then I say, okay, then what do you expect me to do? I have to use substandard material so I'm able to deliver and keep something.
Okay, I'm still talking about this because of same situation where we, for instance, our roads, the government officials give out money, the sports money for the constructions of perhaps quality road. I'll make an instance of Kaduna State where a particular building was awarded contracts for an investor to be invested in that state, and then the constructors that were given the money brought in inferior quality, and then the governor said, no, this is not what we talked about. So in this case where we awarded a contract to you, but you decided as a company to use inferior qualities as a person or as a body, who is to be blamed here?
There are conditions in contracts, you know.
Absolutely.
You revoke it. There are things you can even charge the person. When I contracted me, where I've given you my quotation, this is what I want it takes to do this, and I'll give you, and you are signed and you approved, then I'm bringing something different from what I gave you as a quotation, then what happened?
Absolutely.
It's as an agreement, then definitely you can do the needful.
All right, now let's move to the issue of education. We find students protesting in different locations, and it seems as though there's going to be an hike in fees. So where do we stand when it comes to agitations from ASU and students also coming to bear the brunt of paying extra fees in school?
My dear sister here is so disheartening. The people who call our leaders, they're the worst thing we have. Sorry to use that word. Why I say that, most of them benefited free education. They went to school.
They lived the Nigerian dream.
Went to school at the time. They were given everything, given all it takes. When they graduate, they were given beaches. This maybe.
And most of them got automatic employment.
Automatic employment.
That's what they call the Nigerian dream.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
And you see the same leaders today happens to have the opportunity to lead in governance. Then they are looking at ways of making money. How much do we have? what they were encouraged to go to school, and they are discouraging the youth now to go to school. So the protest, why don't we protest? Yes, at the time in 2004, when I went to school, how much was the school fees in Benue State University? As at then, it was 6,000 naira per section. They were giving student alawi, we call it alawi 6,000 naira. So probably, are you not going?
You were paid.
You are going to school free,
and you're still being paid.
You're still being paid alawi 6,000.
You know, I was kind of speaking with someone yesterday, and he made mention of the fact that traveling abroad to study in those days were kind of very easy, because they would have gotten some amount of education very cheap still in their country, and then traveling abroad to acquire more education was easy. So it now came to my mind, so what's the issue now? We tend to have difficulty in acquiring education here in the country. I remember when I started schooling first, I paid about 16,000 naira for my school fees, and then when we continued, it kept increasing every term per semester, and then it became a burden on my parents still, and the standard of living became high. Parents would not even get as much salary or wages, but here they still have to pay that amount of school fees. What then has changed? Is it the poor economy, the government, the people? Even individual school, private schools these days are exorbitant.
Honestly,
you know, government school those days were more equipped and more relevant, were more recognized, because government school were looking at what you have in. Go for their
so are you saying that those standards have dropped?
In fact, they have collapsed, not dropped. They are no longer there. They're no longer there. Where in a situation where a primary school teacher, a secondary school teacher in a government owned school is not being paid for like 5 months, 6 months, then what do you think is going there to give all he has to education? No, it's not drop because they have been frustrated. That passion, that Z is not there again.
All right, please give us a minute. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you, Victoria and Alhassan. Good morning.
You're welcome to the press. Good morning to you.
Thank you very much for giving us this ample opportunity. You are on to SND calling from Lagos.
All right, please join the conversation.
Terfa, thank you very much. Your service on, but let me quickly respond the issue of collapse building. Not only in Lagos, anywhere you see collapse building, or illegal structure, there must be insider. There must be insider within the government agency.
Okay.
So we need to make inquiry. That's number one. Secondly, even though you have not come across the issue, but it's in your headline, the issue of 18 trillion naira importation of meat, cooking oil, and some animal agri products in 7 years. You ask yourself, what is wrong with our country? When we have all the potentials, we have the land, we have the manpower. I remember there is an issue of livestock transformation plan initiated by federal government 2018. What about that plan? Even before that, there is issue of Ruga. Do you know how much money that kind of investment will bring to Nigeria? Do you know work opportunities that kind of project will bring to Nigeria? And a cow, there is nothing to waste. Even the stool that is coming out from the anus of the cow is not wasted. The blood is not wasted. The bone is not wasted. The skin is not wasted. Talk about the meat. Before, in fact, I don't know. We have experts in our universities. We have professors. We have doctors. We have research institutes. Also, Embrapa, Brazil. Embrapa was established 1974. And Embrapa is doing pretty well when it comes to agri.
All right.
And we do something of that later in this our country.
All right.
So look, we have the palm oil, we have the vegetable oil, we have everything. But the facilities, the logistics, the standard, I don't know. I'm sorry. I love my country, but something has to be done.
Definitely. Thank you very much for your thank you so much for your contribution. He's almost taking us away from
education.
discussion on education. But before we go that, I want you to round up your thoughts on education before we go that route.
Yeah, education, as I was saying, those that passion and that zeal is no longer there from the teachers. And you see, nowadays, every parent is prefer to take his child or ward to the private education, because there the proprietor, the person is a one-man business, and you know how it does it, because maybe before, government education was one of the best schools to attend. But today, the lack of pension, lack of salary, you don't pay.
Well,
and
teachers are the poor.
Teachers are demoralized. They are not. The passion is no longer there. Nobody is willing to. When they go there, they don't even give the best.
And maybe that's why most of them are doing Jack Bar syndrome.
Of course, yes.
All right, now let's move to what he just mentioned. It's on the front page of the Punch newspaper. It says CBN Forex ban. Nigeria's imported 18 trillion naira cooking oil meets orders in 7 years. Now, I'm beginning to wonder, why would you need to import meat? What's the essence of the grazing and the farmer-herders clash that we had in recent times, and of course trying to get spaces where they can actually graze their animals? What's the essence of actually rearing most of these animals in our country? And why would we even, like he said the skin is useful, it could be used to make leathers. We have the meat for consumption, we have the milk for dairy products, and why would we be importing things like that? I heard that as little as toothpick is still being imported, which could have even generated, employment for Nigerians. And as at last year, unemployment rate was 41%. So should we still be talking about unemployment rate when we're still importing everything?
You've made it all, because in a country where you produce nothing, just imagine Nigeria those days, that we have everything produced in Nigeria. We're more of exporting, and that's when you see our dollar was our naira and dollar was our naira was even higher than the dollar as at then, because we have something to offer. As it is right now, we're a consuming country, and that is just the plain truth of it. How much exchange rates today? $1 to naira. How much is it? Because what do we have to offer? We have nothing to offer out there. Absolutely nothing.
But we have nothing to offer.
No, as in we have
just not offering.
We have, but the people we call leaders does not look inward to see what can we do. How do we're talking about unemployment,
because we know that when Nigerians go out, they become the best at whatever they do, wherever they go.
Let me shock you. Let's go back. I'm from Benin State.
Okay.
I'm from Benin State. Imagine the opportunity we have in Benin State. The abandoned resources. I must confirm to you that orange, Benin State has the biggest orange market in Africa, not just in Nigeria. But do we have a processing factory in Benin? Our oranges in Benin State, a full bag of orange is being sold for 500 naira. A full bag of orange, 500 naira in Benin State.
So
do you understand?
Yes.
So what am I trying to say now? Okay, we have yams. It's food battle of the nation.
Very
where
well.
Yams, if you go now today, as I speak to you right now, you will nothing more than 50 or 60 trucks are driving out of Benin State with the yams. Why can't we have a flour mill that converts this thing into
processed meals?
Process it. We have the best tomatoes and pepper.
So is it
do we have a single factory running? No. So is it why won't Nigeria be poor? Why won't Nigeria be importing even toothpick?
Well,
because the place we have, no one is looking there. They're just looking at allocation.
Okay.
That let's come there.
Everybody is kind of interested in the politics.
In the politics in the federal government, let's bring it. Nobody's looking inward in your state. What do you have to produce? What do you have to do?
But why do you think they are not enhancing or making use of this little? Because the other day I was going through, I've forgotten that route. I saw mineral resources that were being brought down, and I'm like, so we have something as beautiful as the stones that the Indians come to pick from there. Why are we not making use of all these things we have to make jewelries, to produce things for ourselves?
Yeah, okay, just like what she said, but there was something I wanted to draw your attention to. You just talked about a value chain, agricultural value chain, that probably needs to be taken advantage of, like from the production, from the planting to the processing and all of that, and final consumption of the consumers. The question is it just on the government or individuals coming out to see and think beyond the box? Because now there were calls for you to probably go into farming, as an example. Call for you to go into farming, and the farming now does not necessarily mean you have to go out to dirty your palms. It simply means that you can also do other things in the value chain. So now, is it just, are we just putting this on the government, or we also have our own problems?
The truth of it is, the democracy is a nice thing, but at the same time, is the worst thing that happens to us, mostly in Africa. Because if you have your billions, maybe your hard-earned money out there, maybe, for instance, you're based in the US, you have been an entrepreneur in the US, you have worked in industries and you have seen those things, and you think you say you want to go, okay, for instance, you are from Benin State and you come now to the state that you have so much money, you have so much experience, and you want to make use of those things being abandoned. The government will frustrate you. The government is the one that will take you, I owns this land, I owns this state, and you must come to me. And when maybe, for instance, you come now, he tells you, okay, I want to build this factory, I want to turn this thing. He will tell you, okay, from there, how much is my cut? For your own hard money. And again, he's telling you, I'm going to control this thing. And you know, anything that's being controlled by the government, it becomes a cake that people share. After she believe my government money now, match up my own. So even with your money now, you want to make a difference. The government in power will frustrate you, and that thing will not stand. So that's where we are. People have this money, people want to do, but when you come, the governor give you conditions, and there are terrible conditions, telling you how many taxes you are supposed to come now. They are supposed to weigh some things from you, and they will come and they will telling you, this is we're going to pay the government, and you are trying to make impact in that state or in that vicinity.
All right, let me comment. Do you think our governors, our present leader, need some sort of orientation? Because when we see look at the past leaders, to some extent we say they contributed to some extent, or to a very large extent, good in the society and in the country at large, and yet we have new leaders, not really new leaders, like we said before the show started, recycling of leaders, but at least the leaders we saw in the past did some good in the country, and now the leaders we are bringing in kind of do awful in the policy. Do you think there should be a reorientation to what the government needs to do for the people? Because then in my civic education class, we said that the governors would do, perhaps provide food, secure lives. We knew all these things. So maybe there should be a proper reorientation.
Yeah. The truth of it is, Nigeria now will need a new Nigeria. All we have till now is an old Nigeria. We need a new Nigeria. A Nigeria where you will not be called to serve or to do a job based on your father has a connect. Your father was a ex-minister, ex-commissioner. But you'll be given for the fact that you have the competency, the credibility, the capacity to do it by merit. The government we have today is just recycling of governance. You see, this government comes in today, you see the same old man who has been in power since 1999, they're the one shifting. It's just like he's shifting cultivation. You just move from here to here to here with the same old mentality. The people who has held this country backward, they're the same people who are still going around, just moving from one position to the other. How do you expect change? Definitely you have no change. But when a son of nobody becomes somebody, because of your intellectuals, because of your ability, when you before we go to school, we put on our best to read and do all the things, right? Hoping that when you are done, based on your intellectual, those days they return students. When you graduate from school, when you have first class, the school will say, no, we need your brain. Come, return you as a lecturer. Is those things happening? You only return based on your father was a commissioner, in that state, or your father was a minister or a former governor, you just use a call. Yeah, I need my son to, you will tell my son there to be, okay, yes sir, and that happens. So that's where we are. Recycling of governance is what is keeping us where we are, because we need a new Nigeria.
Okay, so
where a son of nobody, based on your merit and what you are competent in, you will be called to serve.
Well, you're calling for a new Nigeria. I'm sorry. In the state where election just happened, like not less than a few months ago, and now we are still calling for a new Nigeria, and people have chosen their new president-elect, new governors, and the rest. Do you think or see that change or a new Nigeria happening?
A new Nigeria is possible, because the elections that happened, INEC has reduced Nigeria to a state or a country where there is no integrity, there is no hope, there is no faith. But I believe there is hope, because INEC did well when they started, but one thing just tarnished and spoiled everything: the presidency election. You see, what happened is the House of Reps and Senate, there are people who did not even do posters. There are people who did not even have a godfather. They won election because the election was free and fair.
all right.
Yeah, sorry, it was free and fair in House of Rep, and the people voted who they wanted to vote, and it counted. When it comes to the presidency, then we have glitches of beavers, and that is where the country has suffered so much, and all that they did that was like applauded has been cancelled because of that single act. And we have the judiciary. We're looking up to the judiciary now to be the hope of Nigeria, for a new Nigeria, because they stand for truth. Because for the past days, the judiciary has become a marketplace where the highest builder gets it.
All right, because we have moved to election matters from the importation story. There's this headline on Daily Sun that says 25% FCT votes not needed to win presidency. That's coming from INEC. And they also now said it tells tribunal it can declare winner without recourse to beavers, electronic transmission, others. Because you made mention of the election issues now. They are saying FCT is not important to be made. And I think before the show started, while we're still reading the headlines, we got some text messages from some viewers that it is very important that we have the FCT. And we know that you're not a lawyer though, but we need to hear your opinion of this.
Yeah, you see, I earlier said INEC has been a nightmare of Nigeria, and it's very unfortunate that at a time like this, when Nigerians' hopes are highs and they're looking for a change, then a single institute or an individual wants to hold Nigeria. FCT is just like when you were applying in the university. They say for you to get an admission in the university to reach particular cost, you need to get English and maths compulsory. Okay, for instance, you want to read medicine, and they say physics and chemistry is compulsory.
All right.
And you fail physics. Are you going to be admitted on that? No. I know how many times I wrote JAM. I know how many times I wrote JAM. I know how many times people wrote. So when people are studying, when you do your laws, and at the same those laws you want to flood them or to cut corners, it can't work. But FCT is not a state. FCT is more of a veto power to determine. A seat of power to determine.
Okay, that means you're giving FCT a special status, and which means that everybody in FCT is special compared to other states.
Because
is that what you're saying?
Yes, FCT have almost all the nation here that are in FCT. All the states, every tribe in Nigeria is in FCT. But not every tribe in Nigeria is in other states. FCT is the seat of power where you need to have the majority.
If you talk about all tribes in FCT, there are all tribes in Lagos.
Yeah. No. What I'm trying to tell you is this is where the president resides. This is where your activities and everything. This is you're coming out to be a landlord. Just for instance.
But do you know that the Constitution also states that FCT shall be treated as one of the states?
One of the state that is one, that one is constant. It's just there. When you are telling you one, just like you are telling you to solve to find x in a math. Where is the x? There's a figure that is is constant. FCT remains 1. Then go and look for the other things. Then get this one. Then get the result. So when you say FCT is compulsory, you must get that 25%. The acceptance in FCT where you want to become landlord. If you're not accepted in here, then what makes you that landlord in that place, in that house?
Okay, we'll take that as your own very opinion.
Of course, yes.
While we move on to other stories. Now we have this conversation that Dino Melai is accusing Governor Wike of some stories. I am not going to delve into, I'm not going to mention precisely, but there's this one that he says Wike called me 19 times in 2 hours lobbying to be Atiku's running mate. And now CSOs are beginning to say that Port Harcourt's account should be properly audited based on Dino Melai's accusation. Do you think there could be something there, or it's just the normal political brouhaha?
Those are two good friends now. There are two good people who they've started. There are two political big wins, PDP big wins, you know. So now the election is done. Wike single-handedly whole PDP on standstill. So you can expect any call. It could be, I don't think Dino will just wake up and start forming things to say, and he said he have evidence, and he's just waiting for a reply, then he will upload everything. But
Wike in his comment interview with Chinese television, TVC and other stations made mention of the fact that, like you called Dino Melai a bigwig, he doesn't consider Dino Melai a bigwig. And aside from that, why do we have politicians always coming out losing their mouths when elections are over, and perhaps when there's an urgent seat of power? Because this is coming up when Dino Melai is trying to clean the seat of Kogi State already and trying to get support, and Wike now is saying no, that you are not fit for that position. So why do we have those politicians coming out to just lose their mouth?
And that's why I said recycling of governance. It will shock you if the election is going to be free and fair, just like the beavers of a thing. It's going to run real time. I bet you none of those people that feel they owns Nigeria, owns activities, won't clean that seat. If you allow beavers to go real time, let people go to the polling unit and vote, and as you are voting, that there right there is being transmitted and is being open. I bet you none of these people will win any election again, because people are tired with them. We need young people, new brains, not these same people moving from one end to one this one to one this one. Then what do you want to have to offer? Nothing. They're just noise makers. But because they have their way, we cannot talk anyhow. He talks how he feel like want to talk, because he has the money, he has the power. I can control INET. I can control, this is what I want, and it happens. So what do you
why would you say that they can control INEC?
No, they have the money now. This is, you know, when you bring the money and you said take and you give a good offer.
His money did not count when he was seeking the position of vice president in the party.
Yeah, the money did not come because he jammed with money. So one must suppress another person.
It's beginning to sound like an allegation against the electoral body.
No, I'm not alleging. I'm not alleging. Sorry, I'm not alleging. I'm just saying the country where we are right now, the highest bidder always gets what he wants.
Okay, so I'm moving away.
So when money comes in to play, then the truth is being swept away.
Okay, so take this call. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Welcome to the press. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
I'm Fatia.
All right. Tell us where you're calling from.
Yes, I want to agree with the issue, but what will be the opinion of Nigeria now? Because now that I want him to push it a bit, even if it's 40 seconds, because now Nigeria constitution does not have any provision where the sitting president will continue more than 29th of May. or where another person will be posted on the seat, pending when the so-called requirement is attained. We all know that that excitement we are talking about is very important, but with that be an intention not to to call for a fresh regulation, because this way we cannot take a regular to move and then say this is now the winner, because the majority of votes, both of them, all of them, as I keep saying, does not gather the three condition that is required, which is majority of the vote cast and the spread of the 24 states, and then taking the 25% in the seat of power. So I agree, FCT cannot be treated as a state because it's not a state, it's a seat of power. So that is why they don't have governor. Right. And that is why APC not being able to win the two elite states in Nigeria. Lagos, Abuja is a state that cannot be a cosmopolitan state, and I think all the so-called 127 ethnic nations in Nigeria can be found there. So it is not a regional state. That is why it leaves so much to be desired about what the spread and the acceptance of Bola Tinubu as president-elect. If we cannot win Lagos and Abuja, it shows that something happens somewhere. I don't want to talk about the vote being rigged there in the north for him, but
you already made your points. Thank you so much. Did you hear the points he's trying to make? Yeah. Now he's also asking you a question, and it's beginning to seem like after all of this is over, maybe there will be some constitutional amendments, don't you think? Because I think FCT is taking a new title from most Nigerians. Yeah. They are now tagging it as the seat of power. It has never been tagged as a seat of power, but this period now is being called the seat of power, the seat of power. So it's beginning to seem like the constitution may need to be amended. But let's quickly take this call before you answer that. Hello, good morning. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from. All right, please join the conversation.
What is this? Any advice I do have that we get it right. Every analyst used to say that we can get it right. You don't get it right. We the masses are not saying this. For MP and the particular candidate that sits in on the masses. Now let's have it now. If somebody can early win Tinubu, Lagos State, it's a state. If somebody at present regime of APC could win the ruling party in every state, you see, we are Nigerians. We need peace. We need good governance. We need progress, more especially the youth. Since we are not going well. The first manifesto we had from the ruling party now during 2015 that we are going to put our refineries in order of the state. Because of the benefits like the state from the not in the we found out about state. That is why we push PDP aside. And as I'm talking to you now, PDP has no place to stay in Benue State because of what is happening. If it has gone wrong.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution. He's also talking almost on the same line with the first guest, the first caller, the last caller, talking about FCT. He said if the presidential candidate, the president-elect rather, did not make Lagos State and did not make Abuja. It should not have been. But the constitution is different. So are you saying that the constitution needs to be re-amended?
The constitution is very clear.
Okay.
It said 23rd.
Yes.
And FCT and FCT. You know, I'm not a law student anyway, not a lawyer, but at least
based on English.
In just on English, they said, why wouldn't it be inclusive at the starting point? And they're telling you, and so it's just being there, just being constant, just being out. Then when you get everything, then you come and get this one to ascertain it. It's very simple. It's a common thing.
Well, you know the common thing that they say that the law cannot be interpreted in isolation, right? And
then maybe they need to amend the constitution to even or just spell it out clearly that
so that the language is simplified.
That you must win FCT to ascertain you as the president.
All right, let's take another call. Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to the press. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
I am Mr. Solomon Shima calling from...
Sir, please, you would need to turn down the volume of your TV set or step away from it.
I'm calling from Zakibiam in Benue State. I'm calling from Zakibiam, Benue State.
All right. Join the conversation. Okay. We can hear you.
First of all, good morning to my brother there, Mr. Terfa.
Welcome, sir.
You see, from what I know, I'm not a lawyer, but from what I can understand, what you see from that provision of the Constitution, you see, the context is talking of a certain number. They're talking of numbers. They're talking of percentage, and then the number that will make up that percentage. You must win Abuja. Just a question of Abuja is one of those players that must be added to the 36. That's the meaning I'm ascribing to that. Secondly, let me ask you this question. Assuming you contest for presidency, and then you win Abuja, you've gotten 25% there, and then you've got just about 12 other states. Will you be declared a winner simply because you won Abuja? Be there. Then you won Abuja quite alright, but then we the other up to the required number. And no other person also got that 24 or 25. Will you not be the president? That's my question.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your contribution. He has just asked you a question and he wants to get your response.
Okay. Yeah, my response is we are trying to interpret the Constitution, what is stated.
Even though we are not
though we are not lawyers. And based on a typical example of in the university when I applied, you and I know what it is. There are always conditions and there are always things to meet to gain admission in certain things, which is the same thing we're talking about. He wants to lead. There are things, there are conditions because they are telling you must get English to get admission to read your literature, and you didn't score English, and you say because you have every other course, about 13 of them you pass, you have A's, and you fail English, they should give you. Then it doesn't meet with the university conditions, which he wants to read literature, and you must pass English, and you fail English, and you want them to give you admission because you got A's in the other 10 subjects in economy and other courses that doesn't really fit that your course that you want to run. It's not done. We're all witness of that, and many people have written WAEC or NECO how many times just to get that English, because it's a requirement for you to get an admission. So it's the same thing, is a requirement for a president who wants to lead the country. Abuja is just like you want to become the landlord, and the people there must accept you.
All right, let's take another call to hear another opinion. Hello, good morning. I think we lost that. So you're insisting that FCT is mandatory, but you know this case has been to court before. Let me take this call. Hello, good morning.
So you're insisting that FCT is mandatory.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. It's Sam Forge. I want him to touch on that question exactly. I know that it is mandatory now, But with that stop the swearing in of the person who come closer to getting the requirements, because as long as all this issue is concerned, I think APC came closer, so did not thought controversial this thing. But what is his opinion? I want you to touch the aspect.
All right, we'll touch the aspect. Let me take
not waste your time.
All right, thank you. Let me take another call. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Are you there?
Good morning.
Good morning. You're welcome to the press. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Okay, Alhassan, thank you. This is Mr. Akim calling from Lagos.
Thank you, Mr. Akim. Please join the conversation.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting this thing you are discussing.
Thank you.
Okay, let me face your analyst. Let me ask him some questions, because he's trying to give us some analogies that doesn't work. He's talking about qualification, in terms of education, have mathematics and this and that. But has he forgotten that there is nothing like fraction? There is nothing like, say, 2/3 of subjects. So when you're talking about 2/3, okay, 2/3 of 36 states and Abuja. Now let me analyze this for him, let him understand. Abuja will not be called a state directly, simply because it is the federal capital territory, and you can't have two governors at the same time. So it has to be separated by saying "and" for the purpose of clarity. Okay? Then again, let him not forget that Abuja has its own type of local government, which is the area council. Okay? So you can't have governor in the Abuja Federal Capital Territory, but the federal capital minister, what is he representing?
All right.
And to sum it up, the one who is entrusted with the power of declaring is INEC. And some people are getting this wrong by saying that INEC is defending.
Because we need you to round up your thoughts. Our time is fast spent.
Okay, I'm writing it up now. You know, INEC has the autonomy, has the right to defend its work.
Right.
That is that or that.
Right.
So that is just it. So let's leave the court to decide. We are just the street judges.
Thank you very much. We'll have to let you go now.
And hello to the analyst there. I'm enjoying it.
So we need you to round up your thoughts in 30 seconds. You don't have 60 seconds.
I'm not sure it has 30 seconds though.
Okay. So just answer the question. May 29th, will that stop the election or not? That's what the last caller wanted to hear.
No, May 29th. Will that stop the
swearing in or not? FCC
May 29 determines the judicial outcome, because the case is in the court already. So I'm not in a position to say otherwise.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Terfa. All right, viewers, that's where we draw the curtains on the press for today. We'll see you again tomorrow. I am Olamide Alhassan.
And I am Victoria Agbi. Stay safe out there. Bye.